Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to build this tabs component in Webflow that auto rotates through the tabs based on the time of the video duration. So you'll see once it gets to the end of the video, boom, you get to the next one, and you can still click around and go to the other ones as well. This comes from one of my Patreon subscribers. He has this in a real client build and needed some help building it. So if you join my Patreon and need help building some stuff like this, let me know. I'd love to help you out. All right. Go through the Webflow project here first. So you can see I've got page. This is just centering everything. And then I have a tabs component. I set a max width of 33 rem. And then, of course, the tabs component has the menu and the content. The menu has our links in here, nothing too crazy. The loader is just this div with the height of half a rem. And then the width set to, I'm going to start it at 0% and we'll animate that when we get to the code. But it can go all the way to 100%. And then let's see, looking at the tabs content here, we have pane, and I just have a video height, which uses the top padding trick to make a 1-to-1 aspect ratio. These are square videos, and that's on each one, and then the background video in each pane. Some things to note are first, we have on the tabs component here, we have our data attribute wb-data equals tabs. And then I put one on the menu and content as well. I was hoping to get away with just one attribute, but since you can swap these, I decided to be very specific about what we're accessing here. And then, of course, we're loading up a code file. In this case, I'm not using Code Sandbox anymore. I'm using GitHub. Let me delete this one and publish. I'm using a repository from my GitHub called Webflow Dev Template. Show you how to set this up in just a second. First, since we remove the code though, let's refresh here and we'll see that we don't have that thing animating anymore and it's not actually auto rotating. So that we can click, this is, normal Webflow tabs behavior. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Mutation Observer to target these active classes. So that the top tab, when it's active, let's see, this one will be the active one. See, it gets this W-current. Can't quite see everything right here, W-current. And then on the content, it gets the active tab gets assigned this W-tab active, this right here. So with this knowledge, we're going to leverage that and use Mutation Observer to react to changes that we're seeing on the DOM. So let's go ahead and fire up some code. Now what you want to do is you want to click Use this template, and then we're going to create a new repository. And I'll call this YouTube Auto Tabs Video. And we're going to make it public and create repository. Once you have your repository, this is just some boilerplate code to get you started. Click on this green code button and we'll create Codespace on main. Okay, don't worry if that takes a second to load. That's all normal. But quick tour, we've got our source folder here with index.ts. And then we have our dist. This is where our live code is going to go. And then in package.json, we have 4 dev dependencies. I have esbuild, prettier, serve, and TypeScript. Now we need to install those. So I'm going to type npm install and then -D. This stands for dev dependency. So we're going to install all those right now. Once these are installed, I will open up a split terminal window. And I'm going to type npm run build. That is one of these scripts up here. So right now we're going to run build so that we build our index.js, although it's already built. I just want to show you that that's going to happen. And let's go ahead and attach the watch flag to this so it rebuilds anytime the file changes. So we can run that again. And now you can see it's watching. And now over here, we're going to type npm run serve. And this is going to serve our code so that we can actually access it within Webflow. So let's go ahead and open in browser. And we're going to want this dist folder and index.js. We want this code. So let's go ahead and copy this whole thing here. Go back to Webflow and let's add it to our project. So I'm going to open a script tag. So let's do it up at top here. So I'm going to open a script tag in the head tag, defer source equals open quotes, paste all that in, and then close our script there. Save and publish. And now let's make sure that our script is being loaded, and you can see we've got loaded to the console here. So that's great. So now we can start writing our code. All right, so let's go to index.ts. And first thing I'm going to start with is Mutation Observer. I've gone over this in a previous video. You just pull this boilerplate code here, and we're not going to disconnect it all. So I'm just going to start from up there, copy that, and we'll paste it into this init function. Save. First thing I want to do is I want to not get by ID, but I want to use query selector, and I want to get wb-data equals, need to open close brackets, wb-data equals, quotes, tabs, and we'll call this tabs component. And now if that doesn't exist, then we definitely don't want to run our code because this is all designed to work on that tabs component. Okay, and we got to change this down here now. So we'll go ahead and copy, paste that in there. And you can see this observer.observe takes a config file. And let's see, on observe, it takes a target, which is a node, and options, which are mutation observer init type. So welcome to TypeScript. We can just copy that. And on this config here, I'm going to put a colon and paste that. And now when we specify, I don't want subtree. Actually, I do want subtree. I don't want child list. And this is going to give us some really great autocompletion now. So attribute filter I want to do. And I want to target class, right? An attribute filter we can see takes an array of strings. So we'll make that array. And the string is called class. So we'll save that. And now this callback is the function that gets run anytime a mutation is observed. And the mutation we're looking for is that class getting added and removed on our tabs component. So we don't need this if statement. We can say though, if mutation.type equals attributes, which is right below here, which includes that class name. Then we'll go ahead and console log our mutation. Save. And if I come back here and refresh, when I click, I get 4 mutation records. And that makes sense because we're removing the active class from one of the tabs as well as the content and putting it on a tab and on one of the content. So it makes sense that we have 4 here. And this is what I'm going to need to start doing some stuff to figure out what I want to do. So if we open this up, we see we have this target, and this looks like the thing that we want to access, right? So what we can say is we'll go back to our code, say const target equals mutation.target. And we know this is going to be either an anchor tag or a div. So let's go ahead and specify that for TypeScript as well to know HTML div element or HTML anchor element. And now we want to know if it contains that active class. So let's go ahead and grab that active class. I'm going to work off the tabs up here. Which one do I want? I want the one that's active, which should be this one. So I want this w-current. Copy that. Come over here. We'll put this at the top because this is never going to change. And so now we'll say if target.classlist.contains, and what do we call that? Active tab. Then what we want to do is make sure that we're tracking the active index. So that's going to be another global variable that I'm going to track up here. I'll call that active index equals 0. We want to start at 0. But once we have that, we want to say active index equals some value, right? But we don't know exactly what that value is, but we can get that from the name that was specified here. So if we look here, you see Webflow names tab 0 -data w tab -0. And same thing here. So this first 0 is the tabs component number if we had multiple tabs components on the page. And this is the actual tab number starting at 1. Actually, it looks like they start at 0 here. But if we look a little bit more, yeah, so let's get the ID and let's grab the last. What we'll do is we'll get the ID and we'll grab the last character of this string and convert it to a number. So this is within the target. Yeah. So we'll say active index equals target.id, and this was a string, and then we'll call the dot slice of -1. And let's see, string is not assignable to type number. That's because we've already assigned it to a number up here, so that's fine. What we want to do is wrap these in parentheses, and we'll call parse int on that, and put a comma and a 10 here. This is just, I forget exactly, but I do this every time I call parse int. And it's still telling us that string is not assignable to type number. Oh, it just cleared up. So actually, now let's go ahead and console log the active index, just so we can see what we're doing. And I'll refresh here. Active index 1, active index 0, active index 2. So that's great. We're able to know exactly what our active index is. So I'll go ahead and remove this console log. We definitely don't need that anymore. Now that we know what our current index is, we can work on our autoplay tabs functionality. And to do that, we're going to take advantage of the setTimeout function. But let's just create a function here and call it. And then we're going to define it above all of our Mutation Observer stuff. And I don't need this anymore either. Okay, so right above Mutation Observer here, I want to define our autoplay tabs function. So that equals a function. Use our fat arrow operator here. And within this, we're going to leverage setTimeout, which is a function as well that takes a function to run as soon as the timer is complete. And we're going to give it 2,000 milliseconds of time. So anything that we write in here is going to occur after that 2,000 milliseconds have passed. And what we want to do is we want to get what the next index is and then click it. So something like const next index equals active index +1, but we can't do this because if we're at our last index, then it will never wrap. So we need to say if active index is, let's say, greater than or equal to 2, then we want to do something else. We want to do something. But we shouldn't hard code 2 right here, so let's go ahead and get a count of how many elements that we have. So remember, let's call it tabs menu equals tabs component dot query selector. And within that, we want to get that data attribute that we specified earlier. And we need to put brackets around this. So with this on tabs component here, oh, it's giving us an error. Query select or. Yes, it should find out. But essentially what we're looking for back here is this tabs menu right here, because we're going to be able to use to count the number of children on this element right here. And that's this WB data equals menu. So if it's greater than or equal to tabs menu dot child element count. Look at autocomplete helping us out there. And this question mark just says if it doesn't exist to exit gracefully, but we really don't want to do anything with our code if this doesn't exist. So we'll just do exactly what we do with tabs component up there. If tabs menu doesn't exist, then we will return. So if it's greater than or equal to the number of child elements, let's see, this will return 3. And when active index is 2 is when we want to wrap. So let's go ahead and put -1 here. But we'll reset active index to 0. Otherwise, we'll set active index plus equals 1. And we can get rid of this. And actually, let's go ahead and say let next index equal we'll just say let next index, and now we'll say next index equals and next index plus equals. Okay, and now we're going to say next index dot click, and we'll save that. Wait for it to rebuild. What is it erroring on? It says we declared a constant. Need a capital I. Where did I declare it as a constant? Still yelling at me. All right, we're done. So now let's go and refresh over here. Let's see if this thing is auto-rotating. It is not. This has to be active index +1, correct? Okay, so we defined our next index, which is a number. It doesn't make any sense to call click on a number. So we want to say const next tab equals tabs menu dot child nodes. So that's going to get all three of those children, and we'll grab the one that's within next index, just like that. And we will cast it as an HTML anchor element. That way TypeScript knows that it has this click function on it. And the last thing we need to do is actually call our autoplay tabs function here. So I'm just going to copy paste it down there and save. When we click, it gets a little bit wonky, like it's not waiting 2 seconds, because we've done set timeout here, but we don't actually clear that timeout. So let's const timeout equals, and then before that, we want to clear the timeout. But we shouldn't declare it here. So we'll just say timeout equals, and we'll declare it up here with our global variables. And we'll just declare it as nothing. And now if we go back and refresh, 2 seconds, it switches. 2 seconds, it switches. Now if I click and try to mess it up, it's still 2 seconds because we told it to wait and clear that timeout. Okay, great. So next thing to do is actually make it wait the duration of the video rather than 2 seconds, right? So we're going to get rid of this here, and we want to somehow pass a reference to the video and pass the duration of the video there. So to do that, what we can do is in here, we first need to somehow access our videos, right? And those are all located in these background video components, which are nested pretty deep under tabs content here. But we can get those pretty easily if we just say something like const tabs content equals, within the tabs component, we will select for wb-data equals content. So that gets us that div of content. And if that doesn't exist, we definitely want to return. So we're good there. And const videos equals tabs component dot query selector all. And we can just look for any video that exists within, sorry, not tabs component. We want tabs content here. I'm going to do that. And this is just like, we could have called tabs component, but who knows? Maybe you want to put videos in your tabs or something like that. So this is just being more specific and reducing the potential for error. And let's say, yeah, we'll go ahead and say if not videos, then return. Just so you know, if you're not using videos, this code won't work. But we already showed you how to get auto rotate out of it. So I'm just going to keep rolling here and make it a very specific use case. Okay, so now we have our videos, and we know that in here we want to say const active video equals videos of active index. And active index is a global variable that gets updated by the mutation observer. So it should be the active index that we want to access right here. And on the active video, we can just say something like active video dot, let's see, this should give us, this should know that it's videos. I'm curious why TypeScript's not giving me autocomplete. Anyways, we're going to keep pushing forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to set active video dot duration here. It's just something you can call with on a video. And just so that these don't ever get out of sync, anytime we're calling this autoplay tabs, I'm going to say active video dot current time equals 0. So we'll go ahead and save both of those and refresh. And now let's see. It's broken. Let's go ahead and console log the active video, not the active index, the active video. Save. I'm wondering if the first time we call it, we clear timeout of null, that's fine. Active video equals videos of active index. Active index is 0, so that should be fine. Then we log it, we set the time to 0 and duration. So let's see. One error. Query selector on element is not a valid selector. Ah, okay. we forgot our brackets again up here. Let's add those brackets in and save and see what we get. Video is not defined. That's on line 16. Videos. Save. Refresh. Oh boy. So it's going way too fast. The problem is active video.duration, you'll see, returns a time in seconds, but we need this in milliseconds. So we'll multiply that by 1,000 and save, and we should be okay here. Still not okay. Maybe it didn't build. So refresh. Let's save. Oh, I can't put dot duration there. We'll say console log the active video. All right, and now it is. So go ahead and refresh. That's 2 seconds. This one's about 8 seconds long. Let's see if it gets all the way to the end of the video. Boom, and it switches. And the last one we'll just watch just to make sure it goes back. Great, it does. And we can switch, and these will go back to the beginning and restart. Something, if you wanted to check the duration, you could just do duration active video dot duration. Save that. Refresh, and now we'll see the duration. So the first one's 3 seconds. Second one, yeah, it's around 8 seconds. Great. What else do we need to do? That's really it. The last thing we want to do is put these little loaders on there. So let's go ahead and grab those. Those are in the tabs menu as this loader. We've got a class of loader. Let's give it a custom attribute. Loader and publish. And now within here, we'll say const loaders equal tabs. This one we want menu dot query selector. And don't forget our brackets, wb-data equals loader. Okay. And the other thing is I want to, oh, this terminal's a mess. Let's close out of that. Sorry, trash that. And bring up a new one. npm install GSAP is what we're going to use to animate that thing. Great, so we've got GSAP. Let's go ahead up here. Import GSAP from GSAP, save. And now what we want to do is, let's say, if loaders.length. So this is just saying if there are loaders that exist, then we're going to want to animate it. Okay, so let's create a function called animate loader, and we'll call it there. And outside of autoplay tabs, we'll define a function. And now this we want to take a duration, make it a number, and we're going to pass this the active video.duration right there. So now we have access to that within this function, and we're just going to call GSAP. We're going to do a from to animation, and we're going to want to animate the active loader. So we'll say loaders of active index. Oh, we don't need brackets here, but we need them here. So that's the from animation, and this is the to animation. And we're going to animate from a width of 0%. Let's put that in quotes, to a width of 100%. And the duration will be duration. And we want there to be no easing. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and npm run format just so that it looks a bit prettier. Thank you. And let's refresh and let's see if we get an animation. We get nothing. Okay, it's up here again. Same old thing that I've been doing this whole time. We want query selector all instead of just query selector, because if we don't have query selector all, then none of this stuff down here works. So let's go ahead and refresh. Still not working. What do we have? An error. Loader is not defined. So this is loaders. Save. Come here. Refresh. Now we've got our loading animation. That's great. Now I need to add the attribute to each one. And I could do that, but let's just go with classes for now because it's going to be easier. So we'll go ahead and save and publish. Better practice to use attributes, but for what we'll do here, this is just quicker and easier. So save, come back here and refresh. Okay, now we have it working on each one. And notice it's going slower because this is a longer video, but we're still screwed up because this isn't going away, and you'll notice this one's not going away. So let's take care of that now. And the way we can do that is let's just track this as a variable. So we can say tween equals, and we'll make this another global variable, chuck it up here, let tween. And now down here, we'll say if there's a tween that exists, then we want to tween.progress. I think we put 0 here, and tween.kill. This helps so that anytime we click or anything, it will reset. So let's see if that made it work for us. Come and refresh here. All right, boom. The first one goes away and the second one's firing. Let's click. Oh, second one goes away. Click, and let's let this one run through. All right, there you have it. So we've got the completed component set up here. Hope you really enjoyed that. Definitely some more complex stuff going on. You'll notice like this is all bundled up, so don't even really bother trying to read this code. But what you could do is you could serve this using using a CDN like JS Deliver, or you could just copy paste this whole code block into your Webflow project. But I wouldn't recommend running it from this GitHub serving it from GitHub here. This is great for testing, but once we're done, we'd move it over. Anyways, if you like that video, please like and subscribe. If you like this more technical content, I'd love to show more of this stuff. And yeah, get into cool tools like TypeScript and GitHub and all that stuff. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.
Yeah.